And so I want to share now a personal story of when I got sucked into one of these theories. And this is back in 2012. Now, let me just give you some context about what was going on in my life in 2012. I had a toddler and I had a newborn baby. Well, he was a few months old at this point. And this was right at the height of my faith crisis. I did not know what I believed about reality. I didn't know what I believed about God. And I remember seeing this Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting being reported on the news. Now, this happened on December 14th in 2012. And what happened was a 20-year-old man killed his mother in their home and then went to the school and opened fire. And he killed 20 kids, all between the ages of 6 and 7, and 6 adult staff members. And then when the police arrived, he killed himself. So the shooting became one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history. It led to all kinds of national discussions and debates about school safety, mental health, gun policy, but it also became the subject of widespread conspiracy theories, and this is where my part comes in. I remember watching this story on the news, and immediately, before I saw anything else that anybody else was saying, something about this felt off. Something just didn't seem right about it. When I would watch interviews of people who were related to the events, they just weren't behaving in a way that I would expect somebody to behave had they just been through something like this. Then I began to see other people ask the same kinds of questions. I saw photoshopped family pictures that were very obviously photoshopped. I saw pictures of people who were supposedly killed who it seemed like maybe even didn't really exist. I saw other kinds of things like the fact that there was never any pictures of mortuary vehicles taking bodies away, or there was no, bodies coming out of the building. And I don't mean like graphic photos. Obviously, nobody wants to see that, but you would almost expect to see some kind of body bags coming out of the building or something like that. There was nothing like that. And everything about it just felt wrong. And I got really sucked into this, like very deeply. Now, I never said anything about this publicly because I held enough, I think, humility in my position that if I was wrong, I would not want to traumatize people who had really been through a horrific event. And I was actually quite shocked at how aggressive some people were online, where they would go and troll the families and they would say, oh, this never happened, you're in on it, that sort of thing. And there were Facebook pages that were formed. I didn't join those. I just held my suspicions kind of close to the chest. And I concluded that I just don't know. I don't know what happened. It didn't seem like everything was on the level. Now, I have always been a truth seeker, but at that time, I didn't have critical thinking skills. I really wanted to know the truth. In fact, I was so burdened by this because I wanted to know what was true, and things just didn't seem to be lining up. Now, I'm going to talk about some of those specific examples I just gave as we walk through the principles. So I'll leave that there. But I'll just say that I've since changed my mind about this as I learned critical thinking skills. But more recently, shortly after the murder of Charlie Kirk, a theory began to get a lot of traction online that even involved my friend, Frank Turek. Now, I've worked with Frank now for just about 10 years, and I've worked with him a lot and closely. And so it was really astonishing to see millions of interactions on posts that were initially framing him as the man in the white hat that was giving signals to the shooter, apparently. And so I made a video. I thought, I can help clear this up. I know Frank. So I just made a video that said, hey, I know Frank. He's not part of any kind of conspiracy. This video to date is the most viewed video I've ever had on Instagram. It was over 2 million views and so many comments. Now, the thing that was interesting to me is that most of the comments were negative. Most of the comments were things like, Frank's guilty. Oh, great. Now we know who he is. So now we can look into his past. Oh, look, he has defended Israel in the past. Oh, that's obviously a connection. People were claiming that I was in on it. Some were even asking if I was AI. I mean, the whole thing was completely wild. So I know how these types of accusations, they weren't just accusations. They were actually people concluding things that wasn't based on evidence, and I know how these types of things can affect the lives of real people. So if you're wondering about some of these theories online, I just want to invite you into this episode. I'm not trying to be snarky. I'm not trying to put anybody down. My hope is that I can shed some light on these things and give you some things to consider, things that I have actually personally had to consider.